Arrive, I'll bring the fire, make you come alive. I can take you higher, but this is my God. I must not remind you, let it rock. Hey, everybody. Oh, come on, chat. Don't be like that. Hey, everybody. So today we're going to get into the Daily's Farmer's Almanac, first and foremost, of course, because I love doing it. I'm the type of person that believes that messages can come in any shape, way, form, and fashion, um, and that the universe is constantly talking to us. But if you watch me, you're probably not surprised to discover that I feel that way. Um, that's why it could be nearly anything or everything. It was actually shown to me one day when I was talking about it. It was like there were two people, and one of them, like, there were pebbles on the ground, and he picked them up and he just threw them on the ground, and he was talking to the other person, and he was like, the universe can talk to God, spirit, the divine can talk to us in any number of ways. All we have to do is pay attention, listen, and also it's like knowing how to interpret it, but it's like knowing how it's being spoken to us. Girl, what is this energy? Okay. We got all the swords today and some devil energy, apparently. Which reminds me of what else I was going to talk about. And so he just like threw some rocks on the ground. And then he was like, "See, like, because they feel like this is what comes to mind, or this is what this physical phenomena is speaking to me." And I was like, okay, work, sis. And so I think I'm going to start doing the weekly releases again. I know I've talked about it a few times, and if I've talked about it, I've probably thought about it considerably enough to the point where I talked about it. Because I feel like sometimes the energies are heavy. And there is often no clear solution outside of just doing what we need to do. Um, and with the weekly releases, it's a foot soaking meditation where I pull cards and things come up. And then as I'm sort of cleansing and releasing, I do my part to release a piece of that as well to make it easier in part for the collective to do it, or to support the collective in their releasing of these things or navigating through these things. And honestly, like, if I'm coming to you like this and like in this angle, and if I sound like this, I don't know if there's a difference between this and like my podcast mic. I know there's a difference in quality between this webcam camera and my other webcam camera. There's like a lot of, I don't want to say hassle. There's a lot of hassle that's involved in like doing these. And it's extremely minimum. It's minimal. But since I don't have a lot of space, I can't like keep everything in its place and in its space. So I have to like set this up. And if I use those things like the mic and the other camera, that's even more work. And I have to position the camera because this tripod situation thing is tragic. And if I do the foot soaking meditation, honestly, since I've moved all of my cards, I can probably do it here with not that much hassle. Because before I would have to shift to the other side of my bed and then like getting everything in the frame and like getting my laptop and a camera over there would be a hassle. But because I've already rearranged things, I could just put it down here. Hmm. So yeah, I'll start doing that. I'm gonna do what I need to do today so that I can do it tomorrow. And I wasn't originally planning on doing it that soon, but so it came to me, it was like, oh, prepare today to do it tomorrow. And there's some other things that I kind of sort of drag my feet on. I'm starting to move in the professional sphere and in this sphere and in the spiritual sphere when it comes to like doing certain things like this or like that. I kind of drag my feet a little bit. And I want to do less feet dragging. So that's what I'm going to do because the first few times I did it, I remember one time I was doing it and there was this message that was like, oh, it's gonna get easier. And I was like, what? It's gonna get easier. It wasn't easy for me. Hello? I'm over that. I've also discovered today that I need to get over my trigger. I need to get over being triggered by the word responsibility. 'Cause I hear responsibility and I'm like, oh, no, thank you. But for what I want to do, for the impact that I want to have, it's like I want responsibility and the way of like certain things. I don't necessarily like, I'm not too keen on feeling like people are depending on me for something. Not that I don't want to seem to be dependable, but like I don't want to be overly relied upon. I guess is more accurate. I don't mind being a support. I actually enjoy supporting and being there for the people that I love and care about. Um, but at a certain point, there are things that we have to do for ourselves, right? So the cards that came out, it's the Eight of Swords, the Shadow side, the Five of Swords, and the Knight of Swords. All these swords. And then at the bottom of the deck was the Two of Swords. And in the Two of Swords, we see the sun and the moon. The moon is in the daytime sky. Excuse me. I haven't read what this is about yet, but we'll do that. And the way they're laying out on the table, it's the Knight of Swords, the Five of Swords, the Shadow side, and the Eight of Swords. I was gonna flip them, but I think I'll actually keep them this way. Also, I might go back and watch some of the videos from last year, because last year came the energy of it started out as like we're given the keys to the car by spirit and we're being asked to drive, and then the box in the forest kept coming out, and it was like it feels like there's going to be some mist or some fog that falls through the forest and we're going to get lost in it, and those who make their way out of the fog before it lifts will find themselves in a space of mastery. And then it was these things of like balancing the light and the dark within us so that we're able to enshroud our light in darkness and to encase our darkness in light when we enter spaces of purely light or purely darkness, and still be like contained to the point where we're not triggered into shadow or triggered into that false light thing, right? Where we're not obstructing the light or obstructing the darkness when we can see it for all that it is, because both in nature are divine, right? Like the sun was the one of the first things that God created. God said, "Let there be light." Light was one of the first things that was created, and then the first day came where there was a period of darkness and there was a period of light. It's when we start obstructing things and when things get weird that it gets all like shadowy and like messed up, right? And then I wasn't even gonna ask a question today. Well, I wasn't gonna ask a question today. My little light up there started blinking like crazy. I was like, I don't know what that means. And then I was trying to be nice and I was gonna try to repost the question, and then I ended up asking a question. And it came out, Miss Remy Healings, that it was like, we're gonna be able to go in the depths and see things that we weren't capable of seeing before, because now there's gonna be light there and we're gonna be the light. But again, that's the space of like when we have our shadow resolved to the point where we can take a step further and enter our darkness. That isn't like weird. It's just, it is what it is, right? Then we can go into those spaces with our light, and it doesn't chase out the darkness there. Because if when that starts happening, that's when you get this weird shadow energy in a space, and then that's what causes distortion when we go down there, right? It's like just enough light to see. And then I guess I kept saying that. Cool. Anyway, let's get to this. I just thought that was interesting. I was like, what? Wow. So there does not exist a more perfect feature in human nature than that affection which a mother beats towards her children. What? This is Truman Day in, is that Missouri? MO, maybe? And Mother's Day is tomorrow. Bears! Bears towards her children. I thought that said beats. I was like, excuse me, that's weird. There does not exist a more perfect feature in human nature than that affection which a mother bears towards her children. Okay. But with the Eight of Swords here, the Eight of Swords came out yesterday too. And she also said that like something is like speeding up. I kept seeing the quickening card. It's like something is like speeding up and it's moving faster than even spirit anticipated. And it was interesting because yesterday when I pulled all those cards, the spirit most card was the chariot. But at the bottom of every other deck was temperance. Like every other deck was still, but spirit had started to move. And it's like something is moving, something is already happening. But it moves in spirit first. So again, that's why I was like, that's not too surprising. But anyway. Oops. It feels like for some reason a mother's love was absent. And because a mother's love was absent, we were warped in some sense, or we got a warped vision. And from that place of absence, we move forward. It feels like we're trying to fill that or trying to whatever that weird thing that was that happened because that energy wasn't necessarily here, we're moving forward in that sense. Again, the Five of Swords in the SKT Spirit Keepers Tarot is wearing the head of the Papal Bull. It acts on behalf of a more distorted Hierophant energy. It does things that the divine wouldn't ask of us, but that the Hierophant might, because the Hierophant is man, right? And then this is the soldiers of the Hierophant, who, historically did some pretty not great things. Now the Two of Swords is here. I feel like the Two of Swords here and Karma here are both twos, and then Strength is behind Karma. The Two of Swords is the choice and the decision that we always have, right? And it's like Spirit is like, well, we know that you're blinded on Earth. We know that down there things are really dense and they get weird because it's like, well, what do I do? What don't I do? This is what everyone else is doing. When I do this, it hurts, and being hurt makes me sad, and I don't want to be sad, so I'm going to do whatever. Like this energy brings from this space of not knowing anything different. But this is a card that says we still have the choice. We can choose to be better. We can choose to listen to that Gemini cricket inside of us. We all have a conscience. Now, what feels like is happening again, I feel like this energy came out in the first round yesterday. Something feels karmic. It feels like everything has already been put into position, and now the Wheel of Fortune is going to start drawing everything in place. Excuse me, according to what we've done. And I say that because like we see the sun and the moon in this card, but it feels like they're going to get closer and closer and closer until they occupy the same space in the sky. And we get the solar eclipse in Karma. Now, the solar eclipse is happening early June. We have a total lunar eclipse happening May 26th, Sagittarius. June is Gemini. And here's the Gemini energy in the Eight of Swords. Now, there is a Six of Swords energy here between the Five of Swords and the Knight of Swords. And this reminds me of a question that was posed to me yesterday. Because it's like, what does it mean to release anger? What does it mean to release negativity? What does it mean to release fear? I think a lot of times our natural human response can be to suppress it or to try to bypass it. But there is no release in suppression. Suppression is suppression. You put it off to the side and it accumulates for tomorrow. To release it, we need to truly work through it. And then here's this dragonfly, where all swords are pointing towards the dragonfly. And then we have, I guess that's a feature of the suit of swords. It's these little like fairy nature spirit things. Like we see them in the two of swords and that five of swords. They're also in the three of swords. Again, that feels like a conscience energy. It feels like Jiminy Crickets. It feels like that piece of spirit that lives within us that's like, hey, like, don't do this, don't do that. Maybe you should be kind and forgiving. And what does it mean to forgive? Forgiving doesn't necessarily mean like allowing someone to continue to take advantage of you or allowing someone to continue to hurt you. Maybe forgiveness is just releasing them of the responsibility that they have to you to correct what they've done or whatever, right? Because you find the compassion, the forgiveness within you. I guess you can't use forgiveness to define forgiveness. You find the compassion and the understanding within you to know that in some ways we're all doing our best. In some ways we're all hurt. In some ways we all experience disappointment, more or less. And we can't hold anyone else accountable for how they treat us, especially if it is a result of how they themselves were treated, because we ourselves can go and do the same. We go out and we hurt people because we're hurt. Or sometimes we hurt people without even knowing that we hurt people because of what we've experienced, because of what we've personally gone through. We encounter someone else and they say something or they do something that in their own mind is of no consequence. But for you, it means something. And if that communication never happens, to let someone or to make someone aware of your experience with something or of how you take something, if you just hold on to that pain and you allow it to continue to fester because again you never communicated so they don't know, then you're walking around feeling hurt and betrayed. But it's like, well, you never said anything. It effectively boils down to miscommunication or lack of communication. And then we carry such resentment and heavy energy and again that betrayal and things of that nature in a space where we don't necessarily have to. Now it feels like there is some resolving energy in this because the night, it can be read either way, take it as it resonates for you. But because the Knight of Swords, oh, because it's heading away from the Eight of Swords, it could be this energy of moving forward, right? Because again, there are these energies here that help us resolve this Five of Swords, that protect this dragonfly. Dragonfly, for me, symbolizing like ancient wisdom and knowledge. And in the space of this, it would symbolize that conscience, the Gemini cricket, the peace of spirit that we choose to listen to instead of being stagnant in our pain. And then this becomes an overall Six of Swords energy of navigating beyond trial and tribulation, navigating beyond what we didn't see or experience, the lack of love that we had that we could have as just as easily have stayed in, especially with this shadow side energy. And shadow side is a 15, that's a 6. That here's a 1 and a 5. Here's a 1 and a 5. But this one is the fastest one in the suit of swords. Our minds can race faster than we have the ability to comprehend and process our own thoughts. And it feels like, honestly, this is de escalating towards the Two of Swords because there are less spirits in the two. It's like the more practice we get in navigating those spaces and the more practice we get in choosing to see the truth that heals us, that aids us, that moves us forward and moves us closer to the divine, the less prodding we need to do to continue to do it. And it feels like at this Two of Swords, eventually we're going to come to the point where it's not that we don't need any guidance, but it's again, it's that thing that like what becomes second nature and then what becomes our primary nature. And again, that's when the sun and the moon align. That's why strength is here. Under karma and under strength is that Four of Wands with the Four of Swords. The Four of Swords and the Suit of Swords, it's probably one of the best cards outside of the Six. But the Six is like a mobile Four of Swords. The Six is like, in my own personal journey, it's like in my own life, when I was by myself, I came to a Four of Swords. The Five of Swords came when I reintegrated back into society, and I had to find ways to maintain what I was able to create by myself. And so the Six of Swords is like navigating the world, moving through life with that internal Four of Swords energy. And because we can carry that Four of Swords with us without the isolation, we find ways to navigate and to live. We rewire, re-network, retrain our brains to experience life and experience interaction in ways that are less like conflict oriented, ways that are less like, oh, somebody's like attacking me or this is happening to me. It gets us in this energy where we move forward with the resolved Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords started being that card of like, it brought to mind like Fight Club, and how when they were initiated into Fight Club, they had to stand on the porch and they were harassed and told to leave and all that kind of stuff. And those who stayed on the porch were brought in. And so it carried this energy of almost feeling like you're being abandoned by spirit in some way. But that's not the case. What's happening is like you're being given the opportunity to take all of your wisdom, all of your knowing, to take your connection and to put it to use in a way. It's like living it instead of just, it's hard to describe, but it's a space of getting closer to spirit. And it's a space where also spirit may not do as much as they did for you before. It doesn't mean that you're not protected or that you're not loved or that you're not kept. It doesn't mean that you're not on the right path. It's just, it's time for you to step into more of you, step into more of the self. And you can't disconnect the self from the all. So at our roots and at our core, we are one with spirit and everything around us. But on this plane of existence, we can experience, it's like if you're a multi-talented, multifaceted person, and there are different environments that bring out different strengths in you, right? Let's say that you're a singer, let's say you're a performer, and so we put you on stage. Let's say that you're a researcher, and so we put you in a lab. Let's say that you're a nurturer, so we put you in a space where people need to be nurtured. Let's say that you are a leader, and so we put you in a space where there are people who need guidance or who need some kind of structure or who need to be led and for some reason, right? It's like here we get to experience all different facets of who we ourselves are and who everyone else is. And it's like it's the space where the all can be everything instead of it can still be everything, but not everything all at once, right? It's like the difference between white light and a rainbow, right? It's only when it passes through a certain thing that it is separated into all of the colors so that we can see and appreciate them separately in a way that we can't when it's all white light. But the Four of Wands and the Four of Swords, this is peace and harmony to me. This is an internal peace and a communal harmony and celebration. A little bit of a utopian energy, but everything may not be perfect. But that's the strength that we sort of possess as we allow the sun and the moon to come into a balance in themselves, right? And it's like if you can take spirit from being something that is constantly around you and in everything that you see to spirit being something that is within you, something that animates your body, that flows between all of your cells and all of your organs and it, through your veins and everything else. It's this bringing in of spiritual energy where we become spirit. That's this sort of movement from the 5 to the 2. It's like we're counting down from the 10 to the 1. We're starting at the 8. And at the 8, because there are things that we can't see again, it's easy to get things misconstrued. It's easy to feel separate, isolated, attacked. But that's when at the 5, spirit starts to step in. And maybe spirit is all, it gets louder here. And we move forward. Keep going down towards the 1. Now, this is a 1. That is an ace. But we sort of stop at the 2. Because this 2, it's holding 2 aces. That's the ace that is spiritual knowledge and awareness, but also the ace that is how things work down here on the earthly plane. And it's keeping both in balance. That's why the sun is there and the moon is there. And also, like the Hierophant has 2 keys, the keys of the sun, the key of the moon, the key of the intangible and the key of the tangible, the spiritual and the physical. As humans on earth, we have to navigate both. This is the navigation of both. That primarily started with 1. But again, it's like we have the strength to do these things. It's, in essence, our nature. So a mother's love is wonderful, but even here on earth, I feel like a mother's love and affection is the closest thing we have to like a more divine love. But there are mothers who don't really love their children. There are mothers whose love for their children are limited by their own limitations, by maybe how they love themselves or how they were raised, or it's their fears or whatever. There are fathers who love their children like mothers love their children, right? It's something that can also get distorted down here. And that's the closest thing. But it feels like, the divine is offering you more. But that's not surprising. So that's where I feel like this was pretty succinct. That's where I'm going to leave this. I may come back and do something different. I may not. I don't know. I kind of want to see what the angels will say now. Oh, I can pull a. I'll do it. I'll pull a Whispers of Lord Ganesha card. Why not? And I'm wearing my shirt of the Rising Phoenix. It may be on the back. Yeah, you can see it a little bit more on the back, and it's got a crown. I got this shirt in like high school, maybe middle school, maybe. It's a little snug, but I like it. I don't like it snug. I just like the shirt, so I'm wearing it. I don't mind it a little snug. Let's see. So, Whispers of Lord Ganesha. Also, shout out. I know I like to thank myself a lot because I believe it's important, but also shout out to Spirit. Shout out to the Divine. Shout out to all those dreams I had where I was trying to go to the mountain and rewrite time, and I was trying to separate timelines because I was like, ooh, this is not going in the direction that I want to be around for. That was I don't know what it is about his place. Maybe I live a different lifestyle when I'm there, honestly. I feel like I'm hydrated more. I eat better. But woof, there are some things that just like were coming in. which is why I'm glad I said yes to going. That's something that I've also personally been learning a lot lately, is to say yes. My default is like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know if I'm going to like it. I don't know if that's going to be comfortable. I've learned how to just say yes and to go with the flow. And it's been working for me. A lot more than saying no would have been working for me. And he was like, hey, like, what are you doing? Are you busy? He was in town. He was like, you want to come back with me? I was like, I have an appointment on Monday, but I can reschedule. Yes. Now he's also going to be coming back because there's a graduation that we're going to. I don't know if he's going to ask me to go with him again. If he does, I might say yes. I'll probably say yes. But we're going on a trip at the end of the month, so it's not like I'm not going to see them again. And I'm really excited for this trip. I'm not nervous so much yet, but they are very active people. I am not as active. I'm excited to again experience a different version of Patrick that is more active, but maybe I need to start improving my stamina. I got a few weeks to improve my stamina. Oh, and we just got an exercise bike. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do because I want to experience that. They'd be crazy. Like she was telling me about one time she got stuck in a tree or on a hill or something, and how he tried to go get her, and then he got stuck, and then she found her way down, and then she had to help him. And I was like, if I got to rely on both of y'all to try to help me, girl, I'm a big dude. I'm hefty, and y'all are not. So, woo. But I'm allowing the world to be rewritten. And if I am to allow the world to be rewritten, then I need to allow myself to become versions of myself that honestly I don't know if I've ever been. Like I feel like I can be really quick to see how something will go south or how something won't play out. And so I'll distance myself from it or I'll separate myself from it and then try to go off and create something better for me. But that, I don't know. It's time for my soul to grow. It's time for my soul to experience something different, right? And I kind of like it. I'm not gonna lie. There we go. We have steadfastness and energetic movement. This is 32 and 5. So there's a 5-5 here. Steadfastness and energetic movement. I feel like and the environments are so similar, like clear blue skies in both of these. I feel like these could be red. Oh no, because they both involve movement. Because I was going to say steadfastness can be a little bit of a still energy, and energetic movement is like a moving energy. But we can move in a steadfast manner. Like that's like setting a pace. Bottom of the deck is belonging, which is 41, another 5. So we've got 555, 32, 541. I'm curious to see if 23 is behind it, but I'm not going to attempt it. And 50. Can we get all the fives out here? And I did see the 5 of swords. So yeah, again, with that 5 of swords energy, we can interpret it as like conflict and contention and victory at any cost or one of those energies. But again, that more recent 5 of swords energy, it's not necessarily proving, but a little bit of it is. Maybe it's more of us standing in our power in a way where we don't rely so heavily on the divine to do things for us that we can do. Hey Zelda, how you doing today? And that's the steadfastness and energetic movement. It's almost like in pulling away, the divine is teaching us how to walk on our own two spiritual feet, and then how to run, and then how to fly or like teleport around or do whatever, right? And that's this knight coming out of the 5 of swords. It's almost like a battle hardened energy, but that it's like that's not the point. It's an energy of teaching us to stand on our own 2 feet, right? If you're teaching a baby how to walk, eventually you have to let the baby go. So the baby knows that it can walk without you. If you are like learning how to ride a bike, eventually you take the training wheels off, or eventually you let go. And it's like there are times when it's like the letting go has happened. And if we don't realize that we've been let go of, it's like we keep on at our steady pace. It's only when we realize that like whatever we wanted isn't there in the exact same way and manner that it was before. Maybe instead of it encouraging you now while literally holding you up, it's encouraging you from a distance. It's like, look at you go. Like, you got this. Keep moving forward. But you're like, oh my gosh, what? And then you like fall. Or you wobble a little bit, but then you're like, wait, I'm already doing it. So let me just keep doing what I'm doing. And then you don't fall. And you're like, wow, thanks, Spirit, for showing me that I can ride a bike, that I can drive, that I can walk, that I can fly, that I can teleport or whatever. I don't know. I keep saying teleport. It would be cool if that if that happens. I don't know. But I'm like, let me just go experience what the world has to offer. Don't even gotta buy no plane tickets. Yes, please. So 32, steadfastness. Do not waver back and forth or be moved by the circumstances that are surrounding you at this time. Be focused on your purpose and unwilling to be swayed by what other people think or by what you perceive or by what you perceive. Ganesha heartens you by revealing that when you know your effort is not futile, you will be steadfast and immovable. This seems to be a major stumbling block in your life at this time. Perhaps your current job gives little recognition, with no real sense of accomplishment or success. You may feel unheard in your relationships. Possibly the error lies in the fact that in your heart, you really feel your struggle is hopeless. You may recognize it on an intellectual level, but you are easily shaken when you do not see the fruit of your exertion. Ganesha is pictured here riding the elephant to engage you in the energy of the elephant spirit. Elephants can teach you that kindness, dedication, and communication in relationships is very powerful. They remind you that it is necessary to keep relationships alive, trusting, and loving, whether the relationship is with friends, family, partner, or self. I added or self. It ended at partner. Deeply faithful to all creatures with which they have relationships, elephants are tough when protecting others and gentle when nurturing them. The matriarch, the oldest, most experienced female leader of a herd, leads in a way that is both gentle and inclusive. Elephants are able to communicate telepathically. When you draw this card, your ability to truly listen to others is enhanced. Do whatever is necessary to safeguard your resolve. You are receiving guidance that this is the time to dig in. Remain focused and don't get caught up in trying to create a change. The energy in your job or relationship is ever changing. Ask Ganesha to bring you the strength to work through what is happening. Stay committed and on track. Do not give up, or change will show up soon. Do not give up, as change will show up soon and the situation will be transformed. I love that. And I feel like I had that experience when Russ was doing the What's Coming to Your Country reading, and then, the King of Swords came out and a certain message came out, and girl, I was ready to be triggered. Apparently, I was looking to be triggered. And then I watched it back and I was like, oh, okay. So I was just completely hyper focusing on the wrong thing. And that's why, like, I feel like my ego isn't so big that I can't apologize or admit that I'm wrong. So that's why I uploaded that like foot mouth emoji video, and I even left a comment, and I put the edit on up top. Like, I realized that I saw what I was wanting to see because apparently I just wanted to be triggered, girl, and in that I missed what was actually there. So also in that, like, allowing the world to be rewritten and all of this karma judgment energy, with this energy of like the work has already been done, now allow for the changes to natural. It's like a plant, they sort of, it naturally occurs, and we have to allow that and not necessarily force it. Like when it said remain focused and don't get caught up in trying to create a change, more like allow the change, especially if you've done the work. Steadfastness, you've done the work. Energetic movement, both of these are 2 pages or a page and a halfers. Energetic movement, be focused on your highest goals and intentions in your day-to-day activities to create real transformation. Ganesha dancing represents a very focused kind of motion and activity. You are in a phase of development and change. Ganesha is showing you that you have the option and breathing space to move forward with your plans and activities once again. You have access to a high level of energy and movement that propels you forward to achieve your goals. This energy's vibration is such that you may find that your goals are attained at a much faster rate. You can expect to be very busy. Trust that you will have the enthusiasm and drive for this time of action ahead. In this movement, Ganesha is expressing emotion in a physical way, uniting the body with the spirit. The energy of this card causes a feeling of sureness about your goal to arise in you. Hold up, wait. The energy of this card causes a feeling of sureness about your goal to arise in you, and you'll soon see that all distractions have been removed and you can devote yourself to your task with complete concentration, determination, and will. This experience can be very productive, allowing you to accomplish a lot in a short amount of time. Ganesha is advising you that a project you are working on may come to a close quite quickly. There is something new and more exhilarating and inspiring coming your way very soon. There really is no stopping you right now, as you are just bursting with energy and ideas and cannot wait to achieve one task in order to start another. To capitalize on this energy, it is important to assure that your activities are centered on your broader goals and that you are investing in the right things at the right time. Also, make sure that before you move to the next task, your previous task is truly complete. This is an action oriented time for you. Begin to engage in the best opportunities available. I love that action oriented time and making sure that your previous task is complete. And Reem said it at one point when it came to the dark and like shadow work and how sometimes we can be uncomfortable in it. And so we try to rush that. And in rushing it, we miss out on the very things that we're supposed to learn, or we don't give ourselves the opportunity to truly incorporate what it is that we need from that space. And so what we do is we go on, it's like this 7 of Cups, 8 of Cups dance where we realize that one thing isn't what we want. So we go on to something else, and then it looks beautiful in the beginning, but then it turns out to be more of what we've already had in the past. And it's like, why do I keep attracting these people? Why do I keep attracting these bosses, these jobs, these situations? And it's like, maybe because we're not incorporating, learning, seeing what it is that we need to see. And until we do that, it's like we kind of sort of keep falling for the same thing. It feels like an energy that's almost like short term memory loss. Like I was making rotis, and so you got to cook it on both sides. It's like a tortilla. And my friend, he was like, all right, so when you flip it, like this is the spot that needed to cook more. So, you press this spot to the pan so it can cook because they kind of blow up a little bit. But as soon as I flip the roti over, I'm like, I already forgot what the other side looks like. So when I make them, I just keep flipping them. What's interesting too is we have the vehicle of the elephant that came out, and the vehicle of the mouse at the bottom of the deck. I feel like there's a lot of movement in these two cards, and steadfastness and energetic movement. But with the belonging at the bottom, positive outlook 29 is under belonging. It's like we're getting to a place, into a space where our fears, our limiting beliefs, our limitations, they no longer hold us back. They no longer serve as gatekeepers to all that we truly desire. This is the space of bringing light into those shadowy places, resolving the shadow and strengthening the darker aspects, and also strengthening the light, because again, shadow is an obstruction of light. There are things that we can't see because of whatever we've been through and because of whatever we've experienced. And a lot of times we seek lights that will prevent us from going back to those places. But it's like, well, that's the very space where everything that you want lies. That's the space of your courage. It's the space of your bravery. It's the space that prevents what you want from happening from happening. And it's not to be lost in it, and it's not to become shadowy in and of yourself. It's to stop obstructing light. It's to accept that dark is not bad. Right? Dark and shadow are different. Dark is like, it's just a place that the light hasn't reached yet, in some ways, right? And if, like, I'm a little weirdo, so I like to think about these parallel universe things where in this universe, the way our physics works, dark is the absence of light, and cold is the absence of heat, and feminine in some ways is the absence of masculine. Whereas maybe in another side, it's like light is the absence of dark, heat is the absence of cold, masculine is the absence of feminine. And so we're kind of sort of coming into these spaces where we allow both to be what they are, which is that very like Two of Swords energy, which is also the Two of Pentacles energy that was coming out for a long time, which was like being in between worlds. And it's sort of our sacred paradox to figure out how to allow both light and dark to be, how to allow both feminine and masculine to be without seeing one as the absence of the other. And it's like it's a dynamic that our current understanding isn't really capable of. It doesn't leave us or lend us to being capable of comprehending it, because it's like it would make physics and the laws of nature a lot more quantum. And quantum physics is a thing that's expanding now, so who's to say that we won't get there? And that's why it's like, maybe that's a little bit of the reason why. See, it gets weird when you talk about quantum stuff. But it's our perception of light and shadow that impairs our conception of light and dark. Because it feels like, in an absolute way, if you work on light, then simultaneously you're working on dark. In that sort of mirrored sense. Because it is. If you work on what is, then it supports what is. But what is on the other side is the absence of what is on this side. Maybe that's that quickening energy. Maybe that's how it happens a little bit faster. Is that the Emperor? It is the Emperor. The Emperor and the World just came out. Yeah, see, this is the masculine world. This is the Emperor world, where feminine is the lack of masculine, where dark is the absence of light, because masculine is light. And then the Ten of Swords is here.
with the owl sitting. Owls have been just popping up everywhere for like the past what week and a half, 2 weeks maybe. There's the owl on the branch. The owl reminds me of Athena. It's a sort of spiritual wisdom. It's a higher perspective that is sitting, watching us go through this process. Again, it reminds me of the pages that came out yesterday, and how the pages and the SKT report directly to the archangels. And whenever we reach a certain milestone, it is our own personal guardian angels that then report back to Angel HQ and notify them that we're ready for the next task. We're ready to go even deeper. We're ready for the next iteration, the next level. And here's the world card. We're ready to go through the whole cycle again. Maybe this time starting at the Emperor. Maybe we've already mastered the Magician, the Empress, and the High Priestess. Or maybe this is something for us to, like, maybe this is an energy that we have to almost reimagine. And then every subsequent energy that holds a masculine feature after we restructure this masculine energy. It feels like, though, if we can redo like the Emperor, Empress, it feels like it would be more the Magician, High Priestess to get truly divine feminine, divine masculine energy. But again, we're human. Not that we can't have a conception, but like as you get to know the divine personally, more personally, you'll come into an ability to conceive and perceive of what a truly divine feminine or truly divine masculine energy is without such earthly examples like a mother and a father, or anatomical physiological examples like, having a womb or having a seed, or like the sun and the moon. It's like it gets to tell you what that energy is on a wave that is, it's almost so primordial, but at the same time it feels like something that we have access to in a way that we can more directly shape, influence, and impact our lives. And it feels like something extremely subtle. It feels like, oh, like that's where it was. Like here I was thinking it like it was all of this up here, but it was in the smallest of things this whole time. Or again, and this, at this time point especially, masculine dominated global culture, apparently it seems like it's becoming, there isn't really a way for us to comprehend what the divine feminine is, because in this space, like, feminine is a lack of masculine, just like we can't truly comprehend what dark is if our definition of dark is a lack of light. It's like, well, can we separate light? Can we separate masculine when we're defining dark, when we're defining feminine? Is that possible for us when we live in a world of dichotomy where, like, we look at man and then we look at woman and we look at what man can do and we look at what woman can do and we say, oh, only woman can do that, so that has to be feminine, and man does that, so that has to be masculine, because that comparison still runs there. And it takes me back to that, like, hyperdimensionality between two things, to the point where the space between them is literally able to create the infinite, or it holds space for the infinite. Well, it's like, well, how can two create infinite? Well, I guess if you got two people and they never die and they just keep popping out babies, then I don't know. The Ten of Wands is behind that Ten of Swords too. I just feel like that speaks to the difficulty in trying to comprehend something like this. I feel like we would almost go crazy trying to comprehend what it would really be. But in the space of connection, it feels like it's just revealed, or you see it. And it is what it is, in a way that, it feels so simple. And I feel like the reason why it feels so simple is because it's so innately intrinsic in everything. And it's like, oh, I've seen that. Oh, I know what that is. I didn't know that was that, or I didn't know it was that simple. Like, what? Like, they taught us this in preschool. Here I am trying to get this PhD, doctorate, trying to write this thesis. And like, this is something that we learned a long time ago. The answer has always been there. And that spirit that's like, yeah, that's when spirit is all around you. But now it's time for spirit to be within you, to the point where you can integrate spirit into your body. And it's like our bodies are naturally spiritual. Our bodies are naturally intuitive. It's like the equipment, the setup, the circuitry is already there. We just gotta plug it in. So that's where I'm gonna end this. I think I'm gonna go to the restroom and come back and then pull some other stuff because I'm feeling it today. And I'll catch y'all later. This was a little longer than I wanted it to be, but that's fine. That's fine. By this point, I shouldn't be surprised. But I'll catch y'all when I catch y'all, which is probably maybe soon.